Greetings, I'm Bruce Logue, and this is Face to Face. I want to thank you for joining me and my guest, Bimley West, Lieutenant Bimley West of Merced Police Department. Bimley, I want to thank you for joining me today.
Good to be here, Bruce.
I appreciate that very much. I enjoyed our get-together and our having coffee together, and enjoyed hearing about your growing up. And I think that's fascinating stuff when you hear about what shapes an individual. So would you tell us a little bit about your family of origin? And
Sure. I was born and raised in the state of Louisiana, Monroe, Louisiana, and during that time I lived with my grandparents, also my mother and my father, and I had also my sibling, my brother, and we grew up on a very small farm there in Louisiana, and had to. During that time, I didn't realize it, but it was the best life that I could live at that time. But during that period of time, my grandparents and my mother, they instilled within my brother and I the good moral values that we needed in order to sustain our life as we got older.
Right. Milking cows and picking eggs and all that is also helpful to character.
Oh, it is. It taught us the value of being responsible, dedicated to the cause, and that is. It also taught us to be good people, hard workers, and it gave us a character to greet and meet others, and to be helpful in the community.
Very good. Your entry into police work is kind of a neat and surprising story. I enjoyed hearing about that. It's not what I would consider to be the stereotypical entree into being a policeman. So would you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, you know, I moved from Louisiana here to the state of California because my brother, he had moved to California, and I wanted to come out to see the bright lights. Yes. Because in Louisiana, the pace of life is very slow compared to the life out here in California. So after I came out, and after a couple of months, my brother decided he wanted to go back to Louisiana. And I told him, I said, we'll see you later. And he went back, and he's doing very well. But during that period of time, I realized that there's a lot to life other than just working and just obtaining things by your labors, and that is people. I enjoyed being able to meet many of the people out here in California, and to develop relationships. And so with that, I went to work for a place there in Modesto, and hard labor is something that I was very much familiar with. And after being there a while, I decided, you know, I think, well, God actually decided for me, it's time for you to move on. And I then went into law enforcement. First of all, I was given an opportunity to be a supervisor over juveniles. Worked at juvenile hall, and from there I went to the adult corrections, and the sheriff department there in Stanislaus County, they gave me an opportunity to go to the police academy, and from there I began to build upon that. But even just prior to going into law enforcement, I had a good experience where a visitor came by and wanted to just have prayer with me, and in my home with my wife and I, and we invited this person in because growing up we believed in prayer. We believed in God. We believed in our Lord Jesus Christ. And so we allowed the person to come in and have prayer, and after doing so, we began to become more acquainted with the world of the church, and which we were not foreign to, and this was something that we were very much interested in. And so I then became a part of a ministry there in Modesto And as I began to grow spiritually and become a young minister, I then wanted to reach out to those who were in prison and those who were in the jail. I became a part of the jail ministry there in Modesto. And in doing so, I met a lot of good people who had been incarcerated, and as well as those who worked in that environment. And in doing that, I said, you know, I enjoy coming here and being able to impart something, a few words of encouragement. And in doing that, to whether it be to the staff or even to the inmates. So I think I would love to do this type of work. And so in doing that, I then I introduced myself to the staff as desiring to want to work in that environment, and I was given that opportunity to work in juvenile hall as well as adult corrections. And so then my ministry, when I say my ministry, I'm speaking of the direction that God had given me, is God's ministry ultimately, it began to flourish. And I began to see the fruits of the labors to increase. And that's just excited me even more. And so that was my introduction in entering law enforcement, of being, my goal is to be Christ-like.
Yes. And
to be a servant to those in the community. And then it began to catapult from that to where I'm at today. And I've been working in law enforcement now. I started as a street officer here in the city of Merced back in 1986. And it's been a rewarding experience to still be able to help others within the community and to help build our community. And so I'm privileged. God has blessed me.
One of the things I've been impressed with, Bimley, is you're a hospitable person, and you tell it in your stories of inviting people into your home, but you also do it to people you meet on the street, and you approach them as human beings rather than as somebody dangerous, which I think is a wonderful way to approach people.
Well, you know, I think that's important because everyone is someone's baby.
That's right.
That's the way I look at it. And you know, every individual, they have an instilled good, as well as we all know the evils of the world, the bads. Right. However, we all have choice, and God has given us that even from the beginning, and we still today, we have a choice to make from one day to the next to do the good or the not good. Right. And I believe that when I approach someone, they will present themselves as to either be productive or not productive. And it's my responsibility to either accept or reject. However, it's also my responsibility to redirect if it is something that is not a positive. Right. And I think that it's important that we all become a contributor in a positive way to society and not just be a complainer.
Yes, absolutely. Well, proceeding a little farther into the whole matter of police work, what do you think are some things that would be surprising in a positive way to the average Mercedian? If they were to go along with you, take a ride in your police car, or walk down the street with you, what are some stories or things that you think would be surprising to them that you discover?
Well, I think that a lot of people, there are some people rather, characterize police as being always not there when you need them, but they don't always understand why. Right. And there are so many hats that police must wear as counselors at times, and also they're not only just as an enforcer, but counselors to not only young people, but also adults. How much more of a leadership role that we must play in the community because of the level of expectation of what is required of us versus someone who is not. How busy we are. Yes. Even though someone may see the officer with a cup of coffee in his hand, that's just a little small break. But we also look at it as an opportunity to patronage the places within our community and to show people we are human. Yes. And we want people to look at us that way and to realize that we're there right along with them, living in some of the same circumstances and conditions, and we're there to be a help. All they have to do is accept us and not reject us. And so they will find that we are very, very busy, and we also realize that our day doesn't end at 5 o'clock. It's always ongoing. Even for those who may work from 8 to 5, in actuality, they're still on the clock. And whenever the citizens call, whenever we're needed, we will respond. And so to some citizens, they will find that as being surprising, is how much we genuinely care about the community.
Exactly. Very good. How could Mercedians help police out? Give us some really good examples of things that we could do that would be helpful to you guys.
We had our most recent homicide that occurred within our city. Something that we did not know that had occurred as far as police. No call had come in except for when it did, a call, a citizen, just a citizen, call in and described a person who had a lot of blood on them, and they described the vehicle that the person was driving, and that gave us a direction. It caused us to be inquisitive and to be curious about what is really going on here. We didn't have all of the pieces to the puzzle, but just only a mere report of a suspicious circumstance. That's all we had. But it was generated by a citizen who called and just report that thing that a lot of people think is insignificant. Yes. But look what happened. It led us to the suspect. It led us to our victim. And it brought closure in the hearts and the minds of the family of that victim. And we, that case right there is just one example of how valuable our citizens are to our community, to our city, to the police department. It's so important for our citizens. We don't want them to go out and endanger their lives. We're trained as police and law enforcement to go out and to handle the most difficult experiences that people may face out there. All we need is our citizens to be the eyes and the ears, to call us, to report information that they may think is insignificant, but it is highly significant.
Right. I know that Chief Andrade and others are really wanting us to create more neighborhood watch groups in our community.
Yes. Yeah. That is so vital. That was a time, as I grew up, as I indicated, in Louisiana, neighbors cared about neighbors. Yes. There was a time, and I'm sure that others are able to relate, that they were able to walk away from their homes and leave their windows up and their doors unlocked and visit their neighbor down the street. Why? Because they had neighbors who were concerned about other neighbors, and they wasn't afraid to speak to their neighbors and to say hi, and if they saw something that was out of character or out of place, they inquired. They wanted to know, are you looking for something? Or neighbors cared about neighbors. And that's what the Neighborhood Watch program is about, is bringing, that pendulum is swinging back in a more positive direction where neighbors need to be involved in their community. We need to bridge that gap. And I think that if we're all supporters of the Neighborhood Watch program, we will see a positive, a tremendous change in our environments.
Yes.
Where that, yeah, crime may has increased in some areas, but our hands are not tied to where that we're defenseless.
That's right.
We are a motivated and powerful force as we move collectively together in our community.
Yes, exactly.
We can alleviate a lot of the problems.
We hear a lot of negative stuff in the press about our community. Why do you think Merced's a great place to live? I know you live in Atwater as well, and we will include Atwater in that. Why do you think these are good places to live?
You know, the good part about Merced is that diversity.
Yes.
I love it. And this reminds me so much of home as well. As Merced continues to grow, it has grown tremendously. The changes are evident when growth takes place. We have met challenges here in our city, but it is still a place where families can still react as families. Good programs when it comes to sports, education. We have the UC here in Merced now, and that's tremendous. And we still Merced College is expanding, is continually growing, and new schools. We're expanding the minds of our people to realize the value of education. And also I find in the city of Merced, we care about not only of our young people, but also of our seniors. And that is so important.
Yes, it is.
For our city.
Yes.
So I love Merced, and as well as some of the other nearby cities, but that's a positive.
Bimley, I want to thank you for joining me today on Face to Face, and I'm glad you're one of our cops.
Well, thank you.
It's good to have you around.
Thank you very much.
And I want to thank you for joining me today on Face to Face, and I hope you'll stay tuned for our next guest coming up very soon. I'm Bruce Logue.